Hello YouTube. This is going to be a full in-depth guide on the build I've been playing in Hardcore Solo Self-Found. On this build we have reached level 80. We are a Warbringer and we are currently ranked number 3 in Warbringer for the Ascendancy in Solo Self-Found Hardcore. And overall rank we were about 54. Just to start off right off the bat, what is this character? This character is a very tanky character. You will see footage of the character playing. Basically the idea is you drop totems, you lift your shield, and you never put it down. That means basically any attacks coming at you will be blocked. You take 0 damage from them. Damage you do take from AoE hits, slams, whatnot is heavily mitigated. Our character is running without any buffs, 11k armor. Once we stack buffs, we're probably around 13, 14, 15k armor, depending how much we have. So if we do get hit by an AoE slam, for example, we usually are just fine. Our armor mitigates a lot of it. We have max res, we have 46 chaos res. We furthermore have a amethyst charm that gives us even more chaos res. I am looking to get more chaos res. I'd like to cap it out because it is one of the most dangerous things in maps for hardcore at the moment. So for example, something like, let's say this chest has 22 chaos res. Now, it's not good enough because I really want a high armor roll in it. I might try to throw a chaos or two to fix it. We'll see. But something like this would really even me out in resists. So to kick things off, let's just talk about the build one aspect at a time. I have put together a nice little build guide here online that you can follow as well if you wish. Here it is, and it details the important things for the build. This will make it easy to check things. You don't have to look at the video or pause a million times. Use this. I will probably update this, and it's just a resource you can use if you want to follow my build and have an idea of what I'm doing. So first things first, let's talk about the skills. Skills are important. Skills are what make the build. We're going to start off with leveling. Act 1, it is very simple. You are going to get Shockwave Totem at level 6, and you're going to get Earthquake. Now, Earthquake is not even necessary. You can just play pure Shockwave Totem. It does a lot of damage, and you will have 2 at all times. On the other hand, Earthquake, when you use it, it puts jagged ground on the floor, and Shockwave Totems do blow up jagged ground, which adds a little bit more DPS. So if you want even more damage, I would say do what I did. Play with Shockwave Totem. If there's something tanky, hit it once with Earthquake. It'll add a lot more to it. Once you are probably able to cast 3 totems, you can drop the Earthquake, you can just go pure totems. And you will be using Shockwave Totem all the way until approximately level 55, 56, doesn't matter, once you have access to Sunder and to Ancestral Warrior. So Ancestral Warrior is a tier 13 gem. Once you can craft this, you can make the swap over. Support gems, I would say the most important ones early on in Act 1 are going to be Overabundance. You craft this immediately for Shockwave. It allows you to play 2 totems instead of 1. That is your bread and butter. Secondly, you play Martial Tempo just to get attack speed to be higher on Shockwave totems. If you get a 3rd slot, you can go for Jagged Ground to put on it, or you can also use Fast Forward on your Earthquake just to make it proc a little bit faster. Once you do hit higher level, and once you do hit level 55 plus, and we're talking about Sunder in Ancestral Totem, these are going to be your links. So you really only need to pay attention to Resonating Shield and Ancestral Warrior Totem. Those are your 2 main spells. For Ancestral Warrior Totem, we have Ancestral Warrior Totem, obviously, which is the meta skill. And then we have Sunder socketed inside of the totem. The number 1, I would say, damage is Brutality, but be very careful because your Ancestral Warrior Totem does get buffed by any added damage you might have on gloves, on rings. Let's say I have these gloves here. They add 8 to 16 fire damage to attacks. If you have a lot of sources like this, you have some on rings, some on gloves and whatnot, you might not want to use Brutality. Reason being is that Brutality, it does not allow you to do elemental damage, which means it will nullify the effect of those gloves and rings. I didn't use Brutality for quite a while. I actually used Concentrated Effect, which works for all area damage, so that's an option. So again, support gems, you can use Brutality. Heavy Swing is amazing as well. Super Critical is very good as well. Concentrated Effect is very good as well. I don't do any attack speed on these, and I will explain why later, but attack speed is not necessary because you only care about your crit hit. Any other hit that these totems do is kind of negligible because your crits do about 4 to 5 times more damage than your non-crits. So again, something like Heavy Swing giving less attack speed is not a problem. On the other hand, Resonating Shield does like attack speed, so we do get a bit of it on the tree. But yes, this is your main damage skill. Your second skill, Resonating Shield. Support gems, I would say number 1 is Inspiration. It lets you maintain it with very low mana cost. That's the first one I would consider using. Secondly, Unbreakable is really good. It gives you more stun threshold. Basically, you never get stunned. You can keep your shield up at all times. Bosses don't stun you. Mobs don't stun you. Your stagger bar barely moves. If you feel like you don't need this, you can definitely go for the others. Demolisher is excellent. Breaks 40% more armor. And Mobility lets you move faster while you have the shield up during the skill. You could consider adding something like Martial Tempo as well on top of this from your Shockwave Totem, which you're no longer using. Me personally, I think it spends too much mana too fast. But if you can solve your mana issues and use it, it is very good to use. What is the combo between these two? The idea is you will drop your totems. If you read what Sunder does, it guarantees a crit when it consumes fully broken armor. Resonating Shield breaks armor basically in one hit on almost all mobs that are white and blue. And even yellow mobs, about 3 hits, it breaks full armor. Which, if you're attacking pretty fast, can happen within like a second and a half, 2 seconds. On bosses, might take like 4 hits, might take 1 hit, it depends on the boss. But it is very actively breaking shield. And breaking armor. And whenever armor is broken, the first Ancestral Warchief Totem to hit that mob will consume it, and it will guarantee a crit. Not only a crit, but a crit that does 100% extra critical damage. So, that coupled with another super critical on top, we're talking about 300%, so basically 4x the damage of a normal hit. Then the armor gets unbroken again. You break it again because you're channeling. It keeps breaking armor. It gets consumed again, and you will see gameplay of this.
You are nothing but a locust. You will fall before us.
For trash mobs, if you look at the character, you basically walk up, proc once, they're broken, they die. Drop totems, proc once, they die. It is a very easy playstyle. You'll see footage of this as well on screen. Here we go. Or die. Imagine dying. Whoa, something hit me really hard. Oh my god, I'm taking so much damage. Ah! Chad, help! Help me! Alright, we're fine. I need to get in a corner like this, basically. There's a rare mob there. Okay. We're good. Stop pushing! Bro! What was that? My boy's like, yeah, come with me. Dude, what are those? Level up. Holy crap, that's a fast level up. Where's the rares? Come here, rare. Oh my god, it's a lot of mobs. Bro. Wait, is the breach over? I think it's over. Moving on, we have movement skills. Shield Charge is amazing. Shield Charge basically gets you to move around the map. You move faster. Me, personally, I have no movement speed on boots, which is not ideal. My boots don't have movement speed. I'm having a hard time finding good boots because these have 2 reses, really high life, and very high armor. Eventually, I will replace these. I would love to have 30% movement speed. I just don't have it yet. But this skill is amazing. It gets you to where you need to go. If you're slow, generally speaking, I don't think this skill gets affected by slows. So it's just a way to move around the map faster. Has a pretty short cooldown. For supports to that skill, I just give it 1. I give it cooldown reduction. Basically, Ingenuity. 30% increased cooldown recovery rate. Feels really good. We have Leap Slam. You can use that to get over obstacles that might be in your way. If you want to go here and you don't want to go around the mob, you just jump over it. It's a useful skill. I give it a support gem called Holy Descent, which means whenever I land with it, I create Consecrated Ground, which, if you look, gives me some Consecrated Ground, which gives me 5% regeneration per second. That's amazing. 5% life regen per second is really good. Sometimes if you're bossing and there's a pause phase and you're kind of injured and you don't want to use the health pot because you're running low, I will just do this and heal faster while I'm on top of this ground. It's a useful skill, especially with the support. My number 1 buff is Scavenge Plating. So because I'm stacking so much armor in this character, and I'm usually around 12, 13k armor normally, this gives me more armor per Scavenge Plating, up to 5% more. Right now mine is level 17, so it's giving me 4% more armor, but at level 20 this gives you 5. It is insane. It gives you thousands of armors, and you have very high uptime on it. Now, I link a few support gems to this. I like to give it precision. I like to give it clarity. I will sometimes give it vitality or herbalism. It depends how much spirit you have from gear, from quests, and whatnot. But I would say the most important support gems you want are probably precision and clarity. It's just quality of life. I also do like herbalism a lot in hardcore though, so consider that as well. And persistence, it does have a 1.2 cost multiplier, but it doesn't affect the gem. I don't know if that's a bug or not, but it does not increase the spirit cost. So I just have persistence on it as well. 40% more duration means this buff, because it only lasts for 8 seconds, well, 40% more makes it last for 11.2 seconds, which is amazing. I just have full uptime 10 stacks, which is absolutely ridiculous. That's 50% more armor. So if you have 11k armor, you're talking about 16.5k armor. It's just nuts. If you have enough spirit, you could also use Time of Need. I think it's great. It removes ailments occasionally. It removes curses occasionally. It has a 10-second cooldown, unfortunately. You can make that shorter if you wanted to. You could give it something like Ingenuity. I prefer to have Ingenuity on Shield Charge, though. But I thought I wouldn't like this because it's inconsistent, but it just procs once in a while, and it helps a lot. If you have any extra spirit, I would pop this on. I do really like herbalism in hardcore again. 30% increased recovery from life flasks, especially if you have an instant life flask. That is so much more health, and it keeps you alive faster. Also, vitality is pretty nice. And that is basically it for the skills. We have Shockwave again. This is for your leveling. We have Earthquake for leveling. We talked about these skill gems already. Real quick. So when you're gearing up your character, in reality, all you're looking for is resists. Make sure you have resists and make sure you have really high armor rolls. You want to have very high armor. As you can see, my armor is insanely high. And my resists are all capped. Fire is barely not capped, although that does not really matter, and we'll talk about it because I do have heat proofing, which makes my fire resistance insane. I never worry about fire hits. Fire hits basically tickle me because of how much armor I have. But yes, that is the least important one I would say to cap out. The other two, must-haves. And Chaos damage is probably the most dangerous damage for this build. So we try to get as much Chaos resist as possible. That is why I'm running 2 Amethyst rings, and I will be getting more Chaos res. I only have 5% on boots, which is not ideal. But yeah, again, looking to get as much of it as possible. So, as for gearing. When it comes to gearing, basically, all I care about is defenses. Armor, resists, and life, and strength. This is the bread and butter. It is easy, it is simple. Whichever piece has the most armor and resist, pop it on. If it has life, excellent. The only thing you care about when it comes to now DPS and not defenses is your weapon. Gloves and amulet. This build entirely scales off of the following. Plus level of all melee skills. I've got 3 on my one-hander. I have 2 on my amulet. And you can see this is a horrible amulet. I just haven't found a better one with melee skills. And I have 2 on my gloves. This is a must-have. This multiplies your damage by ridiculous amounts. Just to give you an idea, right now I'm doing very good damage, you will see on screen. If I was in Trade League and I upgraded this gear, if I just upgraded my weapons and my amulet, I would probably do somewhere around 8 times more damage. And consider that I'm already dealing massive damage. I would probably 8x that damage if I got more of these plus levels. So, this build scales extremely well. And that's not even counting the fact that I can get my gems from level 17 to level 20. I can corrupt them to 21, etc. Why does it scale so hard with level of melee skills? Because our main skill double dips into that. Reason being, Ancestral Warrior Totem, every level it gets, the weapon itself gets stronger, which means it's a multiplier. But not only that, our Sunder also benefits, and every level we get, the damage of Sunder goes up as well, the attack damage percent. So because of this, we're not getting like a 15% increase in damage, we're getting like a 25-30% increase in damage every single time we get a +1 in melee skills. So that is what we're looking for, and that is the one thing you really need to pay attention to. If you're feeling like you're not doing enough damage, it's because you haven't found gear with this. Keep your eyes peeled. You will find it during leveling. During leveling, I have found a lot of these. You can see this one is +3 to all melee skills. I have another +3 to all melee skills. I have this one +4 to all melee skills being a 2-hander. So you'll find a lot of these. You'll find them from the merchants. They sell them quite often. And it is not super rare to find. Keep your eyes peeled. Same for gloves, same for amulet. So now that we know what we're looking for in terms of weapon, in terms of gear, let's talk about the tree. So I would say, actually, let's start off with what the strengths are. This build is extremely tanky. It has 100% block from front. It is very high damage, and it does not rely much on weapon. What do I mean it doesn't rely much on weapon? You only care about one stat on the weapon, plus level of all melee skills. This can be a blue weapon, and it is your best in slot. That means it is not, you don't have to have a perfect weapon with plus physical, percent physical, attack. Like, weapons are the easiest thing to get, especially if you're playing trade. So it's just one piece of gear you don't have to worry about at all. So again, not reliant on weapon very much, although you do need the plus melee. So solo self-found, it can be a bit annoying if you get unlucky and you can't find one. As for weaknesses, the clear speed is pretty mediocre. It's not slow, but it's not fast. It's in the middle range, and you do need to be melee for max DPS. If you drop your totem in the mobs here, you do need to get close to break its armor. It is still safe because your shield is up, but some mobs, they might have effects you have to run away from. Or, for example, let's say you're playing in Sanctum. Well, you're going to be a bit slower clearing because sometimes you don't want to get close to the mob because it has AoE attacks around it. You don't want to lose honor, so that's a bit of a downside. But it's a small downside. Speaking of the passive skill tree, I would say just use this. I'm going to link this in the description, but here is the tree itself. It is very, very simple to use. I have broken it down by 10 points. So, starting off, you're leveling. You will get the entire melee wheel. Why? Because it's going to make your shockwave totem one-shot everything. And because you have 2 shockwave totems, you're going to be killing bosses within seconds. It is very, very fast, very efficient, very good damage. You will be very safe because you don't have to be next to the mobs you're killing. The totems will do all the killing for you. You should not be dying. After you've gotten all of those points, we will be pushing into the totem tree here. More damage here, another 32%, another 20% here, and very important, totem placement speed. When you start playing with totems, you're going to say, well, it takes a long time to place the totems. This will make it a lot nicer. This is a great stat. Don't underappreciate it. I actually pick it up before the totem damage just because it makes the build more fun to play. So, we get the totem tree. Next, we will be pushing all the way down here to +1 to totems. This is a 50% damage increase. No other way to look at it. It is an amazing pickup. You want to rush towards it. You could theoretically even go this, and rush towards it and skip the strength tree and skip the armor nodes. I was playing hardcore. I went through here. It gives me HP, gives me armor, makes me feel a little bit tankier. And I wasn't in a rush. But if you want to rush it, you can just go down here. It's going to save you a few points. This is instead of 6 points, it's only 3 points, 4 points. Now that you have that, we're pushing towards 40 points. I don't know exactly when this happens. I put it here. You're going to be getting Ancestral Spirits. They're not bad. They're okay. The turtle gives you more armor. We have one mob that gives you some rage. We have one mob that pins and roots things to the ground. We have a gorilla that stuns people. The really good thing about this, I would say, is that they soak up projectiles. They can pull aggro as well a little bit. They're useful. They're not bad. You get 20% totem life. I would still pick this up first. I like it. I'm a fan of it. More importantly, we're picking this up because of the next node, which comes later. As for skill points, once I have this, I like to round it out a little bit more. I personally pick up some defensive nodes. Pick this up only if you really have a good armor body piece. So it gives you 80% increased armor from your equipped body armor. If you have a really bad body armor, leave this for later. I picked this up just to have a little bit more crit mitigation, and it gives me a bit more HP because of strength. Again, if you have a lot of armor, this is useful. If you don't pick it up. If you're playing softcore, it's not even necessary. You can skip these for now. If you're playing hardcore, I would heavily suggest picking up the HP, picking up the armor. It makes a difference. And I do pick up some attack speed. Again, we're still playing shockwave totems, so attack speed is pretty damn nice. And it also works for your resonating shield down the line. So, 10 more points. We are looking at the second pickup of +1 maximum number of totems. I go down the totem placement speed side. Again, I think totem placement is insane. Super important stat. I skip this one for now, which is increased totem damage. Pick this up. Now you have another totem. You're talking about 4 totems with shockwave totems. Your DPS goes much higher now. And you will still be clearing very, very easily. Next 10 points. I like to round out my defenses. So I will finish off this. I will get the totem damage nodes. I pick up some attack duration nodes as well. Armor break duration node. But more importantly, I have the attack area damage node. It's just a bit more DPS. And attack area damage is nice because it works with both Shockwave and Sunder down the line. I pick up Heat Proofing. This will give you, first of all, a lot of armor. But more importantly, now a quarter of your armor applies to fire damage hits. So at this point, if you have a lot of armor, you're basically immune to fire bosses. Any boss that does fire-based damage, they can't one-shot you. You have insane mitigation versus them. One less thing to worry about. And also, once you have this, if you're having a hard time making your resists meet, you can kind of get a bit less fire resist and get away with it because this is pseudo-fire resist. It mitigates a lot of damage. Next 10 points, we go here. Now, I go for this the moment that I'm going to change to Sunder because it just gives me, usually by this point I have like 125, 130 strength. So that's 130 accuracy. I didn't mention earlier on, but it is very, very important to get enough accuracy on your gear to get your totems to hit. For example, if we look at my gear, my helmet has 216 accuracy. For example, this ring has 192 accuracy. My other ring has 168 accuracy. I have a lot of accuracy, not to mention right now I'm running with 227 strength, which is 227 accuracy from this node right here. If you're not finding a lot of accuracy nodes during the early campaign, this is not a problem because for 4 points, at any point, you can get Resolute Technique. I would actually recommend you to get Resolute Technique early to make your life easy. But don't neglect accuracy because you have to drop this when you swap over to Sunder. You need to have accuracy for Sunder. So once you've made the swap, you will have to cut this off or the build doesn't work. So if you swap to Sunder and like, hey, where's my damage? I'm not hitting anything. You probably forgot to remove Resolute Technique. Important. Don't forget. All right, so this helps with your accuracy nodes. Next, we have another 10 points. We round out our defenses a bit. I personally like to pick up another 2 points here. More armor, a little bit of regen, some strength. Also, strength equals accuracy, which is pretty nice. I pick up now more armor break nodes because I am at Sunder at this point. I am Sundering. I've picked up this. So I'm looking for anything that breaks armor. And this is just a decent one. 25% increased armor break is awesome. It means your Sunder hits more often. I round out my defenses here a bit more as well. More armor. And base armor is added to stun threshold is pretty nice because, again, we don't want to get stunned while we're active blocking. You can pick this up earlier or later if you want. I like to give my totems some resistances. If they're dying too fast, this is a big deal. I will also very often pick this up much earlier in the trait. Let's say I haven't gone here yet. I'll put like 1 or 2 points here. And then once I'm close enough to get the +1, I will unspec them. So this is something I put points into temporarily and do respecs along the way. So something to keep in mind. But yeah, we've rounded out the build a bit here. On 80 points. More armor break, more armor, and that's it. All right. Next 10 points. Now, again, this is all stuff you can get earlier. I like to pick up increased skill effect duration. This is really nice because it makes my totems last longer. I spend less time placing them. It feels good. Is it necessary? No. Do I like it? Yes. I also do pick up some skill speed. Well, it's not necessary for totems to have very fast attack speed. You do want fast attack speed on your resonating shield because the more times it ticks, the more you break. The faster you break, the faster your totems can actually hit for max damage and crits. So it's a nice feel. Again, not necessary. It's something I like to get. I'll fill this out. I'll get some more regen for myself here as well. And we go for the next 10 points. Here, I haven't talked about it, but we did get Wooden Wall as our second ascendancy as early as possible. I have it here at the 90-point mark. This gives me 20% of damage from hits is taken from your nearest totem. It's insane. It makes you so much tankier. And at 100 points, I do the following. I like to go on the left side here. I think there's quite a bit of utility to be found. Here we have 60% increased damage against enemies with fully broken armor. This will make your Sunder hit a lot harder. It's a nice increase. It's not a multiplier. It's not more damage, but it's still significant because that's the only real damage we care about. It makes your crits hit a lot harder. And this is really nice because we're mitigating so much physical damage. A lot of it is recouped as life. It just gives me a lot of passive regen, and it makes me feel tankier. Plus, we get 10% increased life regeneration rate, which is also nice. Lastly, Jade Heritage. I did not know what to pick for a third ascendancy. I was debating whether I get the higher base block or this. I picked it up, and it was 100% the right play. It feels amazing. Now, the active sucks. I never use the active. It's cool, but because you can't cancel it, it's trash. The passive, though, 10% additional physical damage reduction per stack. Sorry, 1%. 10% at full stacks. I don't take damage anymore. Because you have to realize, when I'm playing, nothing's really hitting me. Physical damage never hits me. I'm always blocking. So I usually maintain 10 stacks pretty easily. And if I do lose the stacks, they come back fast. That means if I'm actually getting hit by something, which is a big AoE slam, I take very little damage. It is a great buff. I've been loving it. I was impressed with how good it is passively. I didn't think it was going to be as good as it is. So I am very happy for this to be my third Ascendancy. And probably fourth, I will pick up Renly's Training. That's my guess. Pushing a bit forward, 10 more points. I do think this is a nice node. It basically says percent of your skills are converted to life cost. You will start at a certain point having a bit of mana issues. This can help alleviate it. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with mana at the moment. It's very playable, although I would say, so one way to help make it feel better is getting plus max mana. A few of my gear pieces have it, not much of it. If I had more, it would feel better. Like, this ring has 12, which is nothing, but the idea is still, this is 53 on gloves, right? Like, small amounts. If I could get my max mana to 600, it would feel a lot smoother. Because you can see my mana go from 1, 2, 3 totems. It's already pretty low. And then I pop Mana Flask afterwards, right? Which regens it pretty fast. Totem, totem, Mana Pot Shield. Totem, totem, shield. Right? Totem, totem, Mana Pot Shield. Totem, totem, shield. So I basically go totem, totem, Mana Pot Shield, totem, totem, shield. That's what I'm doing. So I get about 4 totems of use per charge of Mana Flask, and that pretty much maintains it full time because I'm clearing mobs as I go along. So again, 2 totems blocking, Mana Flask is up. Before it fully goes through, 2 more totems blocking. I can drop another totem forward blocking, and I'm walking forward doing that. This will make it a lot more efficient because you have life as a cost. I have not fully gotten it yet. Once I get 2 more points into it, it's going to feel a lot better. So this is a nice little tree to pick up. Other than that, we do have this node, just more armor. Why not? Feels good. And that is basically it to where I'm at. There's one more thing to consider. So right now I'm clearing tier 8 maps very easily. We're destroying pretty much all content. You will see footage of this again. Bosses are easy, mobs are easy. We take very little damage, we're very safe. We're still hardcore, haven't died yet. If you need proof, well, 0 deaths. If we feel like we're not hitting enough, if we feel like our damage is not enough, which is not the case at the moment, our damage is very high. But if we do want to make our damage higher, this is why I put this here at 110 points. At any point, you can put 4 more points and get 70% weapon swap speed. Why is this important? Well, you will do a very, very simple play. You will get 2 weapons instead of 1 and put it on your offhands, right? You'll put it on your second skill setup. Let me move my cam here. So instead of having it with your shield, you'll have shield by itself and 2 weapons by themselves. What this will do is you will set up your totems with dual wielding, and then you swap to your shield right after. Now you can see the swap is a little bit slow. There's a bit of a delay, right? Totem, totem, there's a bit of a delay. If you pick up these notes here, the delay goes away. It feels very smooth. This will give you, not even kidding, just this one change will double your damage. Pretty much. I pretty much, with this setup, already have double the damage I have with the one-handed setup. I just don't need it because my damage is already insane. But it's something to consider if you're feeling like you want to hit harder and faster. On the other hand, if you want to be insanely stronger, if you can find the right weapons, for example, unfortunately this is a +4 level to all melee skills. This could have rolled +6. If you can find a base, this is a very low base at a very high item level. It only requires 76 strength, right? It can roll up to +6. If you can find this on trade or find it on the map, let's say I find 2 of these. That would be +12 to level of melee skills. And by the way, after item level 81, it can roll +7. If you can find a few 2-handers at a low strength requirement, or if you're trading, you have very high strength, the play is to go for the following. Giant's Blood. Again, very close to us. 3 points. Now you can dual wield two-handers. Well, what does this mean? If you're dual wielding two-handers in this build, you don't only have +3 to melee gems when you're casting. So my cast is as follows. This is my current setup. I currently have +3 to melee gems, +5, +7. +7. If I had the dual wield setup with two-handers of +7, that's +14 to melee gems. +16. This can roll +3, that's +17, +19. That setup, instead of having +7, it would go to +19. That's a +12 melee gem. That's probably about 7x the damage of what I'm doing. Not double, not triple, not quadruple. 7-tuple the damage. So, again, this build scales amazingly with levels of gems. And if at any point, like I said, you are feeling like you don't have enough DPS, these are options for you. And they will entirely change the character. The one thing you have to be very careful with, especially in hardcore, is in order to do the switch, you have to make sure your resists are capped without a shield. Right now, without a shield, I'm just missing cold res. I can probably get that pretty easily. It's not a big deal. But for most of you, your shield will be one of your main resistance pieces. I've got here 39 res on my shield. Plus, I have another 12, that's 51 res, right? You have to make up for that on gear. So in this case, maybe you would go for, I don't know, let's say because you're lacking cold res, you can put a cold charm, right? For 25% more cold res when hit by cold damage. It's an option. But yeah, that's something you can also work towards long term as a min-max. But this build will hit insane numbers. It will never suffer for damage, ever. And that is basically it for the guide. Don't use this as a must-have. You don't have to have these exact points. I would say use this as a general guide for what you could do early on. This is what I did. But if, say, after 20 points, you don't want to rush this right away, maybe you want to get a few points defensively. Or, I don't know, maybe you don't want to go through here, you want to get this faster. This is not a rule. You can change it around. This is just to give you an idea of what the important nodes are and at what point in the game I get them. What is the name of the unique belt that you're looking for? Rislatha's. It gives 100 life. That's insane. It gives more maximum physical attack damage and less minimum physical attack damage. So that's a big deal. That is a big deal. That looks pretty strong. There are other things like I'm considering. So for example, this one here. First of all, it gives 10% increased maximum life. That's insane. 20 strength, I love it. Increased mana regen, nice. Recover 5% of missing life before being hit by an enemy attack. How nuts is that for hardcore? Recover 5% of missing life. Now, I do lose +2 to melee gems, unfortunately. But that makes you so hard to kill with multiple hits, right? If you're down to 20% and something's about to hit you, you're literally healing right before the hit goes 5% of your missing HP. And if like 10 things are hitting you at once, you just keep like refilling it. It's so good. And then the other one we're looking for, Rislatha's, this amulet, and I would just craft it to see if I hit. It's not necessarily for my build, but we have this +1 limit to totems. You can go more totems for free. Now, I would try other totem builds. This one doesn't need more totems necessarily. I think those are the uniques I want to get. I don't know if there's anything else I want. Calandra's Touch. Reflects, that's cool. And that's pretty much it. That is the guide for the build. I will show you some bossing after this if you want to see it. You can see some clear videos of me doing normal maps as well. I'll show you some scenarios where I'm absolutely surrounded by mobs and taking 0 damage at all. And overall, I think this build can clear every piece of content. Let's go for increased stun buildup. See how it feels. Figure out who Willow is and how much damage she does. I need to start getting in my head exactly what bosses are dangerous and not, so I can actually properly use my waystones. All right.
Aid me!
I don't know why I pick up these support gems. I've got so many of them. The This feels wrong not to pick something up that shines on the floor. I already don't like this map. It's very open. Hold. Where's my mana? Did I kill it? This biome sucks. I see. Unleashes ice. Ice sucks because it freezes you. That's the only bad thing about it. Yeah, this biome definitely sucks. Crit resistance, interesting. That diving in with shield charge, by the way, is a really bad play. Don't do it. I'm just doing it because I'm an idiot, but it'll get you killed eventually. I might even die to it eventually. Only shield charge if the way is open, because because there's a little delay after you shield charge where you can't block. If you dive into a big group of mobs, they just can kill you. Now you can cancel your charge midway, by the way. That is something you can do. Like you can charge this one. If you see something there, you can charge away from them, right?
Fear will best you.
Oh, by the way, I never talk about this because I do it intuitively, but I'm noticing that I will very often approach mobs using dodge roll away from their projectiles. So I'll call it out now. Like I'm walking forward, I see these guys shoot, so I go, I roll to the side, I dodge all those shots, and then I shield up, right? So mobs don't predictively shoot projectiles. So if there's mobs here, I'll drop totems, and then I'll dodge at an angle, and then get to them with my shield, right? And that pretty much guarantees no projectiles hit me while I'm walking forward towards them. And it's something that I just build up, right? Like muscle memory, but that's something to keep in mind. Why you might be dying as you approach and I'm not. If those hit, right? You don't want to just walk up like that. There's some poison that happened or bleed that happened there, I'm not sure what. Oh crap, volatile crystals. I can't see the floor. Yeah. Risky mods. Spiked Great Helm? That's a nice one. Also keep in mind, you have to block in the direction of the mobs. Oh my god, volatile plants as well. Bro, what's with the volatiles everywhere? And please, if you're playing hardcore, do read what mobs do, because if you don't know what they do, you're gonna die eventually. Like, you actually have to read all yellow mobs. Yeah, I swapped over to blocking on this side, because that's where the mobs are, right? Always block towards the mobs. And they're floor cheese, yeah. Yeah, I dodged through those projectiles the other night. Siphons mana, okay, that's not too bad.
Aid me.
I actually should pick up yellows because I need the regals to like regal maps. I gotta sell them. I was just thinking whether I should pick those up or not. So there's a boss over there, and the rare mob is at the bottom. Let's do the rare mob first. We can do boss after. The floor is cheddar, basically. Wait, where's my... Hello? Unleashes ice. Let's not get ice unleashed on us. Fire resistant armored energy shell's fine. Break armor. Oop. Oh, we didn't break the armor. Coffee! What's up, dude? Thank you so much for the sub, man. 42 months at that. Thanks, man. Thank you.
I've nowhere to keep that.
That's very nice of you, dude. Thank you so much. It has to do with, like, they said it's belts that give you access to it, but I've not seen a belt yet that gives a second charm slot. So I have no idea. Alright. Alright, the boss is up there. I don't know what boss is on this map. I mean, it should be one of the campaign bosses, so it shouldn't be a surprise. We'll see. What boss would I be afraid of to do? Would I be afraid to do Monkey? No, right? Even though Monkey has one shot, I don't think it would scare me. 82 plus, it's extremely low chance. Interesting. Interesting. I mean, it definitely would be a really good thing to have on the belt. I really want to know what the boss is. If I get close to it, I think the name appears before the boss attacks me. Also, I like attacking it on my top right because I get vision very fast and early. Oh, it's this guy. Oh my god, this guy hits hard. Chat, this guy hits... Can I fight this guy? Wait, doesn't he one-shot me? I'm just gonna try to burst him down. There's no pillar to run around.
Come get me!
It's done.
No mana.
He didn't use his slam attack. Alright. Ooh. Chainmail. Amethyst ring. Ooh, hello. Nice drops, actually. Alright. It has no troubles. I have not found scenarios where I feel weak. I feel extremely tanky in every single spot that I'm at. The one thing I would warn you as well is watch out for ground effects. I've died to them. I've lost characters to them. You can be blocking and feel extremely safe, but if there's some volatile plants under you, you will die. But that's true for every character. So while you're playing, just watch your feet. If there's a purple circle there, get away from it. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. And if you have any questions, please do ask. I read all the comments. I will answer them. And if you want to see this site here with the build guide in written form, much easier to follow, it will be in the description. All right. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in the next video.